but anything that relates to 2012 and compiling it very objectively without passing sort of opinion. So anybody that is interested in looking at the depth and breadth of the 2012 phenomena should definitely go and take a look at Jeff's website, but be prepared to be there for a few days.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information there.
There is.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal website. He's actually just published a pocket version of his book called 2012 in Your Pocket. But no, I mean, Jeff Stray's work is absolutely essential to any researcher who is seriously interested in the 2012 phenomena. So here we are. Jose Arguelles publishes this book in 1987. So effectively creating a 25-year window to provide mankind, humanity, with an opportunity to prepare for 2012. Now, you say, but I'm sure people knew about it before that date. Well, if anybody can come up with any reference to December 21st, 2012 as having any significance before 1987, before the publication of Jose Arguelles' book, both Jeff and I would like to hear from them. What we do acknowledge is that there was certainly some awareness amongst Mayanists, and not least, of course, Eric Thompson, of the Mayan calendar, but they weren't looking at this sort of spiritual aspect, which an evolutionary aspect, which Arguelles introduced. So, and I mean, I've done some other presentations in the past where I've looked at how this ancient knowledge has been returned to us over the last 200 years. I mean, we can actually identify when the Dark Ages started. I mean, basically, it was October of 312 AD at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge.
Right.
That's the start of the Dark Ages, because obviously that was the point at which Constantine committed to make Christianity the orthodox religion of the Roman Empire. Less than 100 years later, in 415, we had the destruction of the Alexandria Library, and then for the last 1600 years, the Orthodox Christian religion has systematically destroyed all reference to ancient knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah.
Obviously, when they went over to Central and South America, there was all the destruction there, led by Bishop Diego de Landa. If anybody had any insights, basically they were burned at the stake as heretics. But with the interpretation or the deciphering of the Egyptian hieroglyphs by Jean-Francois Champollion in 1820. And very interestingly, Champollion told his parents in 1797 that he had come here to decipher the Egyptian hieroglyphs. Mm-hmm. Now, he was 7 years old at the time, and it was very interesting because that was 2 years before the Rosetta Stone was discovered.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, the Rosetta Stone was the catalyst. The Rosetta Stone was found or returned to us in 1799. And then by 1820, Champollion had effectively done his work. He died a young man. I mean, he died, I think, at the age of 40 or so. But he'd done his work. And so it was the deciphering of the hieroglyphs that started the process of returning ancient knowledge and ancient wisdom to us. And then, of course, we go through, we have the deciphering of other scripts. We have the return of the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Nag Hammadi Scrolls. It's only in 1975, thanks to the work of Tatiana Puskuryakov,
yes,
that actually we're able to read the Mayan glyphs now.
Yeah.
Of course, there's still other glyphs, other languages. Easter Island's a classic example that, of course, we can't yet interpret. But I'm sure, at the right time, that information will be returned to us.
Absolutely.
So, we are at a very, very exciting juncture in the evolutionary process.
We are. Continue.
I think the important thing is that, none of us have or establish any existential commitment to a particular outcome.
No, exactly. And following up on the idea of change or the anticipation of change, I heard Robert Anton Wilson talking a little bit about the Renaissance period and how people at that time were talking about change as well, or that was kind of in the environment of the time, that something new is bound to happen, that it's something in the environment, almost something in the atmosphere, and that feeds kind of into the system as well, that feeds into the creation, and the universe, so to speak, is responding to that, meaning that even if the 2012 phenomena in itself actually isn't anything, what has happened at this point is because it's creating such a phenomena. And okay, it could be good or bad. We can deal with that later on. I mean, there's 2 featured movies, like one by Michael Bay and another guy's coming out later, I think next year or something like that. And that's really going to, depending on how they treat it. So of course it's probably going to be garbage, these movies. But anyway, it's going to launch that into the mindset of many more people at that point. And what I'm thinking possibly is happening here as well is that this anticipation of something is feeding into the system itself, and if we consider such things as quantum theory, we know that by the art of observation and intent of what we're looking at, that this is something that's going to produce results as well, meaning that when we look towards this date as change or something of immense importance, I think that will feed into it so much that will actually create the phenomena in itself. If you follow my train of thought, Ian, what do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. And I go just picking up on both points. I think the Renaissance, of course, which of course means rebirth anyway, the Renaissance was absolutely an integral part of kicking this whole process off. And of course, let's not forget that what started the Renaissance was the reawakening of the interest in the Egyptian religion. And of course, we shouldn't forget that Giordano Bruno, and I love this irony. I love this irony, which will remind me if I forget about it. But Giordano Bruno, of course, probably one of the greatest philosophers, also known as the forgotten philosopher. But he came very, very close to convincing Elizabeth I to effectively adopt Hermeticism and the Egyptian belief system as the official religion of England. And of course, I mean, she was persuaded that wasn't a good idea by her Protestant advisors.
Sure.
But of course, Giordano Bruno is Gordon Brown in Italian.
Really? No.
Yeah, what an irony. I mean, the last epithet that I'm going to associate with Gordon Brown is one of a great philosopher.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my God. Oh, jeez.
But yeah, I mean, there's no question that, and once again, of course, anybody who's seriously interested in looking at this, how this whole process has unfolded, should, of course, look at the role of the Medicis and Giordano Bruno, and sort of bringing this back into the sort of wider consciousness. Because here we are, 500 years later, 400-500 years later, now perhaps starting to reap the benefit of that, and absolutely concur with you in terms of even if nothing happens, and we have to say that's one possibility, because once again, all of those people who have got an existential commitment to something mega happening at 11/11, December 21st, 2012. I mean, what we may see, if nothing happens, what we may see is a whole bunch of people just die, just because basically they're so disappointed. And basically they see no point in continuing with a sort of physical incarnation, because everything they thought they came here for hasn't happened. But one possibility is that 11/11 on December 21st, 2012 is the fulcrum, and it's just a fulcrum where the balance tips, and whereas those people, that small group of people who believe themselves to be the rightful rulers of this global fiefdom, suddenly find that they are no longer in the ascendancy, and that they're losing control, and that there is a more humane political philosophy that's starting to take over.
Right.
I mean, as you know, one of the presentations that I have given is that these people believe that they are the descendants of the Nephilim.
Yes.
And because of, this is really what I discussed in the presentation that Rick came to see back last year, where I was, hypothesizing that these guys are actually very, very scared about what might occur on December 21st, 2012, because it may be an event that actually removes them en bloc, call it the rapture if you like, but it may be an event that removes them en bloc from this physical arena, this third dimensional arena. Now just consider that for a moment, because this world has been dominated for certainly probably 5,500 years by generally people who do not have humanity's interests at heart.
Yeah.
They have effectively treated humanity as a slave race. Well, consider the possibility that if that group, that whole that mindset was removed from the planet, and it gave humanity an opportunity to evolve spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, without that kind of negative interference, then it opens up a whole new ballgame.
Oh, indeed. Oh, yeah, definitely. It's just, that idea that it feels like we need to, in a way then take the control of the situation, take back, the control of our own lives here, and
Yep.
to have an external force like that just remove a difficult obstacle or something like the elite of this planet. That would actually be quite disappointing to me in one way. I mean, obviously it would be, well, I would welcome it on one level, absolutely, obviously, but on another level, it's like, I don't know, should things be that easy? If you follow me, it should be. I mean, we should really have to also really take back this and make something out of this and really prove that we're able to run our own show here, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, like I said, it's a question of staying totally open. All possibilities are on the table.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it comes back, I guess, to the point I was making earlier that, now is not the time to sit back and just say, hey, I'm just going to basically sit on the beach or stay on the golf course until 2012. And then, that's my cue to come on stage. There's a role to play right now. I mean, I absolutely and fundamentally believe that, regardless of whatever outcome is, we do have a responsibility to demonstrate that, we will not tolerate this inhumanity, this what is presented as man's inhumanity to man. I don't believe it is man's inhumanity to man. I mean, I believe that these guys are not of our race, and by the way, neither do they. That's why they treat humanity the way they do, as expendables, as collateral, whatever other term they come up with.
Right.
I mean, one of the things I learned from working in the international oil field, working across different countries with different cultures, is that basically man is fundamentally mutually supportive, cooperative, respectful. We respect each other's, different philosophies, different religions, and we can live and work together and maximize the skills that each individual and each nation, brings to the table. And yet, unfortunately, there are those currently in sort of quite important roles in this planet who have completely different ideas about how they will abuse humanity, how they will drive wedges through humanity, how they will maintain conflict between humanity. And you know what? I've never come across any individual that actually, on an individual level, buys into that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's a very interesting observation, and I definitely agree with you that they lack the appropriate properties that would define as we know it a human being. So there's definitely something lacking there, and this could be. I mean, we could talk about entities that have walked in, taken over these people. They might have been of an ancient genetically engineered bloodline that is off planet. We don't know at this point, and I'm just as you, Ian, are just leaving all the tables open on the table here, and just willing to look at it all wherever it might lead. I'm not afraid of looking into it or something like that. This is far much more much too interesting to